Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host with most, as always, Francois878, and welcome to episode 4 of Warframe Wednesdays. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the recent changes to rare fusion cores in both the Void and in the star chart, as far as rewards go, and also basically what my opinion is on legendary mods in general. Just as a spoiler, I'm not a fan. But let's start talking about these fusion core changes. Now, back in, I believe, update 15.13, if anyone knows the specific update that these changed, I would love to know in the comment section below, but I'm pretty sure it's 15.13. Basically, Digital Extremes added Orkin cells to the reward rotation of Tier 4 survival missions, which initially you're like, well, that's not a big deal. Orkin cells are a rare resource. That sounds good, right? Well, wrong, because they added them to the rotation that the fusion cores are also on. Now, in Tier 4 survival missions, you can get a bundle of 5 rare fusion cores, which is really good, and that's why most people play Tier 4 survival missions these days, is to farm these cores in order to get... in order to try and get enough to max out their legendary mods. And legendary mods are basically just better versions of pre-existing mods. They're primed versions. And they take in the upwards of, I believe, I want to say 535 exactly, but I could be wrong, somewhere in there. A disgusting number of rare fusion cores. I couldn't even tell you guys how many common fusion cores it would take. It's an incalculable number, I'm sure. It's probably a 1,000 or more. God knows how many. But when they've added these Orkin cell bundles to the T4 survival, they've effectively nerfed the number of times you're going to get the rare core bundles. So basically, you just get less, you get fewer fusion cores, which pissed off a lot of people, because a lot of people used Tier 4 survival missions to farm said cores to max said legendary mods. So Digital Extremes heard the outcry, didn't revert the change, because heaven forbid they admit when they've done something wrong. No, they simply added a nerfed version of the, well, not really a nerfed version. There's still 5 rare fusion core bundles to hard, quote-unquote, survival missions on the star chart, which are, these are the, star chart missions are accessible to anyone as soon as they've unlocked them, and once they've unlocked them, they can play them over and over again. So basically, they've tried to add these bundles into the star chart maps so people don't have to farm the keys first. And I'm sure I know what Digital Extremes were thinking. They're like, oh, we fixed the problem. Now anybody can get these rare fusion cores. They don't have to farm the keys first. Job done. Everybody gets to go home. Yay! Except here's the problem: is that the drop rate on the 5 rare fusion cores is the same as it is on the Tier 4 survival missions right now. Which means they've still added the nerfed drop rate to the star chart missions. Which means you're still not getting as many of these rare fusion cores as you would be. I mean, yes, you don't have to farm the keys first now, but it's still a pain in the ass. And that being said, the footage you're seeing here is a syndicate mission. As you could see, I've been picking up lots of seeds and whatnot, the medallions, and that's because I was planning on using actual footage from, hard quote-unquote survival missions in the star chart to try and, show off, how often these rare fusion cores dropped. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone to play with because nobody's playing those missions. Because they still suck. They simply don't drop the amount of fusion cores that are necessary to max these legendary mods. They just can't. They just don't. All right, but let's sit back here for a second and hypothetically, you know, let's just calculate how much time you're gonna have to put in. So let's say the rare fusion cores. We're gonna use the star chart as the example. The star chart had the fusion cores added to rotation A, which is the rewards you get at 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 25 minutes and 30 minutes and so on and so forth. So let's say you play 10-minute rounds. Let's say you get 100% drop rate on the fusion cores. So you play 10 minutes, you get 10 fusion cores. Awesome. You play for 50 minutes, you have 50 fusion cores. Awesome. You play for 500 minutes, and you have 500 fusion cores. Now, of course, this is in a hypothetical, you know, perfect world where you would get one every time. And that's still close to, like, 8 hours? That you have to do the same thing. You have to grind the same mission over and over and over again for an entire... That's a day of work. That's an 8-hour day of work for one mod. And that's assuming that works. And that's assuming, you know, that's 100%. That's never going to happen. You know, and the drop rate on the star chart for the bundles of fusion cores is 25%. So you could potentially, even if you got lucky and got 25% drop rate, that's gonna put you somewhere in like 32 hours for one mod. There's like 8 legendary mods right now. I don't understand where Digital Extremes gets off even putting legendary mods into the goddamn game in the first place. We don't need them. They're not interesting. They're not cool. They're just separating the player base between the people who have hundreds of hours a week to play Warframe and those of us who don't. And I don't. I love this fucking game. But when you put stuff like that in this game, it makes the grind too much. You know, there's already a grind for prime parts, for prime weapons, for this, that, and the other. You know, you know, there's farming for stuff that isn't even primed. You know, there's still the whole, you know, Mesa disaster. You know, I haven't even touched on that. That might be for another episode of Warframe Wednesdays. You know, but, you know, the ridiculous grind for that frame is insane. And this is coming from someone who ground Hydroid out himself. I can tell you that Mesa is a fucking disaster. And so now to add these insane legendary mods, which are not unique, they're not interesting, they're beefier versions of mods we already have. You know, if they were different mods, if they were actually interesting or cool or did different stuff or were actually like, you know, Orokin, you know, mods that made sense in the lore, you know, that would be cool. The problem is that Digital Extremes has rewritten the lore so many times now. You know, it used to be that, you know, the first couple of frames were going to get primed. And then, you know, Digital Extremes decided they still wanted to make money off of the Prime Access pack, so they're like, any Warframe can get primed, any weapon can get primed, that's fine, shh. And now, you know, these mods, any mod in the game is going to get a legendary? Tens of thousands of fusion cores? Hundreds of millions of credits to get these all maxed? You know, and if these, again, if they wanted to do primed, you know, primed legendary mods in the game, and, you know, they wanted to do them as, you know, like ancient Orokin mods that, you know, granted the Warframe's great power, that would be different. That would be interesting, it's cool, it would fit with the lore. Fine. I can accept that. You know, do a couple of Warframe, a couple of frame mods, couple of weapon mods, and be done. But no, they want to, you know, they're just priming willy-nilly mods. Pistol fucking ammo mutations? Seriously? In what fucking universe does Digital Extreme think I'm going to spend, or anyone else for that matter, is going to spend 500 rare fusion cores for that? You know, I'm guessing in some crazy build at some point that might be a useful mod to have. Is it really, is the regular pistol ammo mutation really going to be that much worse? Is the extra bullets from the primed version really going to put you that much further? You have a primary weapon for a reason. Fucking use it. This is just Digital Extreme nerfing things and making changes that make the grind harder on this game than it already is. Upsets me. It upsets me greatly, because I loved this game, and to see its player base be driven away by these poor decisions aggravates me. But please, in the comment section below, leave your opinions. Tell me, you know, if I'm full of shit, or if you absolutely 100% agree with me. You know, I'm not going to stop playing this game just because Digital Extremes has done something wrong. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they see this. You know, not this video, I mean, sure, this video, but, you know, they see the problem in the community and they revert the changes and fix it. Because that's what we need, you know, that's what they need to make the people happy again. You know, and that's really what it comes down to, is keeping your customer base happy. But thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time for another episode of Warframe Wednesdays. This is Francois878 signing out.